What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and for today, we have a quick two-game NBA play-in slate here for Friday night. I'm going to try to get this video out to you guys pretty fast here as the game starts in a few hours. You guys already know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. We are still waiting on a little bit of news in terms of like starting lineups across the board. We have some people out, but let's jump in right into this first game here. Chicago versus Miami should be a kind of slow pace, gross, but still a lot to like here in terms of, DFS pieces from both sides. So for Chicago, they're running like a 7.5, 8-man rotation. DeRozan, Vooch, Kobe, Io, Caruso, Green, Drummond, and Dalen Terry. Torrey Craig was basically a DMP until Caruso got hurt, played 7 minutes. I think we could probably expect maybe 5 to 10 from him. Nothing too crazy there. Javon Carter did not really crack the rotation at all. I think he played like 2 or 3 minutes. 2 minutes there, so nothing crazy. So they're going to stick with their main like 6, 7 guys. So absolutely love DeRozan, Vooch, Kobe, and Io. I think all 3 or 4, or excuse me, all 4 of them should see 40 minutes. I mean, DeRozan saw 44, Vooch saw 37, Kobe saw, I believe, it was 43, and then Io saw 41. So there's a ton to like here, even though it's not the best game environment in terms of like speed. They're all going to see 40 minutes, and they're all definitely too cheap for their price tags are too cheap for how many minutes they're going to see. So they all look great in terms of like how I'd rank it. I would give the slight edge, for DeRozan over Vooch, but I do think I slightly prefer Vooch. But they both look great. Kobe looks like a really, really good third option there for me. In terms of Io, really, really like him at 6.1 for a guy who's going to see 40 minutes. Not going to do a ton offensively, alongside kind of the main 3 stars of Vooch, Kobe, and DeRozan, but still 40 minutes from a guy who's 6.1K that looks really, really solid. Getting back to the Bulls here. In terms of Caruso, Javonte Green, I don't have much interest. I'm assuming Caruso maybe is on a minute summit. If he's not, sure you can land on him. I'd rather take a shot on Io. And then Drummond, he's always a random GPP dart throw play. Only saw 11 minutes, but, if Vooch gets in foul trouble, he could see more. But a good amount to like here for Chicago just because of the massive amount of minutes they are giving their starters. For Miami, this is where things get, you have a little bit more options in terms of kind of pivot plays, a little bit more contrarian plays. So with no Jimmy, no Rozier, expect obviously more of the playmaking to go through Bam. Obviously Tyler Hero is there as well. Going to shoot the ball a ton. Those two are going to lead this team in terms of offensive playmaking. So they both look really, really good. I slightly prefer Hero over Bam, but they both look great. In terms of like secondary options, if Duncan's good to go, I really like him at that price tag of 4.8. Expect him to shoot the ball a ton. They said he was good to go the last game, did not play at all. So I would be wary if they say he's good to go and he doesn't start, that, possibly he doesn't play again. We'll have to see. Hopefully we get better news this time around for tonight to kind of know what's his situation. Because if he's in the starting lineup at 4.8, that's definitely too cheap there. Would love taking a shot on him. And in terms of like the fourth favorite for me, I do think it's a tie between Martin and Jaime. I think more people are going to go to Jaime just because he's been better than Martin this season. But if you want to, pivot play, Martin, I think, would be your guy. We know he's solid upside. So I think they both look like really, really good and strong plays. Won't even mind playing both of them. And in terms of value, Jovic, not for me. He got the start, only played 14 minutes. Maybe he sees a bump of 5 minutes, but nothing too crazy there. Highsmith did good off the bench, 28 minutes. If you land on him, fine, but I'm not going to go out of my way. Not going to be too aggressive offensively, especially if Duncan is back. It's not like Highsmith's going to take over in terms of Jimmy being out, seeing a few more shots. He's just going to be in there mainly for defense, maybe hitting some threes, get a few steals. He's fine if you land him. I would not go to my way to play him. And then Kevin Love, Delon Wright look like really, really solid, GPP value options. Kevin Love should see anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, you'd hope. And then for Delon Wright, I'd say around 20 minutes is kind of what you're hoping to get out of him. Once again, more defensive minded, but he's definitely a solid option in terms of value because it's a 2-game slate. You're going to have to get different somehow if you are going to pay up for some studs. On the Sacramento side here, for Sacramento, once again, Sabonis is just way too cheap at that price tag of 9.5. As I mentioned, it's going to be kind of hard getting these value guys in here, or excuse me, these studs in the lineups, just because not a lot of value on a 2-game slate. I hate how it just automatically throws it in there. Let me move that over. Sorry. But yeah, Sabonis looks fantastic at 9.5. Once again, him and Fox are going to lead the team in terms of usage. So they both look great. Should both see 40 plus minutes. They definitely are both too cheap. Kind of like the Bulls situation for how many minutes they're going to see. And, obviously these guys are more expensive than the Bulls players. So I wouldn't mind, going to the Bulls who have similar upsides to both Sabonis and Fox. Keegan Murray, a great option here, 5.9. I do think people are going to chase that last game there from him. Shot 8 of 13 from three. 61% hard to trust that, but he's going to see massive minutes. So if you land him at 5.9, still think he's a pretty solid play, even if he doesn't hit a ton of shots. Keon Ellis saw 39 minutes. Once again, 5K. He's kind of like an IO play where they're not going to do a ton offensively. They can definitely hit their shots. They're kind of out there to do a little bit of everything else, but seeing a ton of minutes at 5,000, really hard not getting to him there at that price tag. Harrison Barnes saw 34 minutes, 4.5. I think he's a really solid value play. I'd rather go to him than a guy like Highsmith. And obviously, I do think he's almost as good as a play as like Jaime or Martin, just because the minutes are better, but obviously not as good offensively. Trey Lyles, a decent value option, 19 minutes out of him. I expect, anywhere from 15 to 20. So if you're, once again, looking for some cheap value, could be your guy. And then Davian Mitchell, kind of like a DeLon Wright play. He was aggressive when he was out there, 2 of 9. But, he should see anywhere from, I'd say, like 14 to 22 minutes out of him. 3.6, probably the cheapest value across the board today that you could take a shot on. So I don't mind it, but there's a lot of good guard options, so it's going to be hard to, kind of pay down for him. And Alex Len did get some minutes, but no interest there. On the Pelicans side here, obviously no Zion. Expect CJ to really step up, lead the team. So a lot of great guard options across the board. That's why it's hard to get down to the cheap guard value is, DeLon Wright and, as I mentioned, Davian Mitchell. But CJ 8.1 is way too cheap here in this matchup, even though he had a horrendous game there. Really, really like him. So I'm going to take Sabonis out real fast and just throw in CJ. Brandon Ingram only played 25 minutes. They said expect a minutes bump, but they did sit him pretty much like the whole fourth quarter. I expect obviously a bounce back game from him here. Hopefully we get news on if it's like a 30-minute limit. Maybe there's no minutes limit. What to see, but fantastic matchup here. Don't mind stacking this game because it should be a way better game environment compared to the first game there. But those two look great. I mean, even Trey Murphy. I mean, there's just a lot of good options. I'm sorry, there's everyone is just way too cheap for the amount of minutes they're going to see across the board. DraftKings just did not do a great price or a great job of pricing, but at the same time, it's 2 game slate, so it's like you have to kind of give people options. But I mean, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, CJ, they'll all look fantastic. They're probably my 3 favorite plays across the board on this slate. We know Trey Murphy should see anywhere from probably close to 35 minutes, maybe pushes for 40 out there for his threes, but can do a lot more. He's really, really solid rebounding. So I'm going to throw him in there. And then in terms of, some value plays, obviously J-Val's there, Herb Jones is there, Larry Nance got priced up, so don't have a ton of interest in him. I do think I'd rather take a shot on a guy like Drummond for a cheap value play. Jose did really well, so I expect anywhere from 15 to 24 minutes out of Jose. 4.2, once again, hard to get to just because there's a lot of good guard options on the board today. Dyson Daniels only played about 10, maybe sees a few more minutes. I do think we could see Najee Marshall kind of, jump into the starting lineup. Kind of fallen off the past few games in terms of, getting into the lineup. But if you want to take a dart throw, 3.8, a guy that can go out there and, get you 20 plus fancy points in 15 to 20 minutes, he could be an option. But in terms of my favorite plays right now, it's going to be hard not getting to at least one of the Miami Heat players in terms of their main 2 or 3 guys in terms of, Hero, Robinson, Bam. Obviously, we have to wait for the Robinson news. Hopefully, we get the starting lineup news soon. But yeah, I do think it's key to get to one of those guys. Obviously, it's going to be key to get to at least one of the Bulls. So that's why I like throwing. I'm going to throw in Io. But once again, it's hard to fit him in. I think Duncan is small forward eligible. We'll throw him in. Sorry. All with the board right now. Duncan. Oh my God. So we're going to do this real quick. Sorry. Boom. Duncan. Where'd you go, Duncan? Right there. All right. So there we go. Really like Tyler Hero. Obviously, Io. I think it's key to get to at least 2 of the main 3 Pelicans guys. Once again, I think more people are obviously going to go to CJ and Trey Murphy. It could mean Brandon Ingram, depending on the news, is a great pivot option off those 2. But I definitely play 2 out of the 3 of those guys. Whoever the route you want to go with, those 3, I think you definitely need 2 out of 3 of them. And then in terms of Sacramento, you're going to want to get to at least one of the main 2 guys there. Obviously, it's super hard just because with the pricing, not a ton of value. But Sacramento, I think everyone's going to go to Keon Ellis, makes sense. But in terms of the 2 main stars, I do think more people are going to Sabonis than Fox. So if you want to pivot play to Fox, don't mind that. But obviously, you're going to want to try to get at least one of the main 2 guys from each team. And obviously, if you can't, I think Isles a great option. Same thing with Keon Ellis. Kind of fill out your lineup. So this is what I'm kind of looking to do, kind of build around this lineup, kind of play around. We'll see. Once again, have to wait for the starting news, but I do appreciate all the support, guys. Once these playoffs start happening, we get a little bit more games on the slates. It's going to be a little bit easier to break down, but yeah, as I said, a lot to like here for these games tonight. Hopefully we get some great games, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.